Hey there, my friends. Good morning to you. I hope this video finds you doing well. I want to tell you about a quick story from the early 20th century. It's about a young landowner. He's brand new to a community. He's never farmed a day in his life, and he decides that he wants to take an attempt at plowing a field. Now, this is in the day and age before farming equipment, and mules were still being used to plow the field. It was a source of great pride for any farmer to be able to keep a straight row. And so this young man, he thinks, I can do this. And it's very clear, it's very evident from his first attempt that it's not nearly as easy as he thinks it is. And so he's talking a few days later with a neighbor that is an older farmer, and he asks him, how in the world do you keep that straight line in the rows in your field? And the farmer said, it's not as hard as sometimes we think it is. He said, for me, I look across the field, I find a stationary object like a tree or a fence post, and I line that tree or fence post between the two ears on my mule, and I just head straight for it. And so the young farmer says, that doesn't sound too bad at all, actually. I'm going to give that a shot. And so he does. And the older farmer, a few weeks later, is on his way to town, and the road takes him by this young landowner, his property, and he decides, I'll check out and see how he did. And he notices that every single row in that young man's field has a huge right curve to it, like the curve on a rainbow, the arch on a rainbow. And so the farmer finds the young man in town, and he asks him, he says, what in the world happened? And that young man says, I followed your advice. He said, I'll tell you what I did. I saw a cow in the field opposite me, and I lined up that cow between the two ears on my mule, and I headed straight for it. And of course, the farmer laughs and chuckles at him. He says, son, that cow you lined up with was grazing in the pasture, and of course, she's moving while she's grazing. He said, I think you may have missed the most important part of the advice. You need to line up with something that does not move. I think there's a very good lesson that is true in our lives here. If we want to end up in the right place, we need to keep our eyes focused in the right direction and on the right things. We live in a rapidly changing world filled with uncertainty. The very fabric of society is being torn at. The culture around us seeks to reshape our beliefs and our morals. It's in times like this that we really need to be reminded we must secure our focus on an unchanging God. Paul would say it like this in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. We don't look at the troubles we can see right now. Rather, we look at the things we cannot see, because the things we can see will not last forever. They'll perish away. But the things that we cannot see, they will last forever. He was giving a principle that we cannot fail to focus on eternal things, because the temporal things are going to pass away. And I get it. We live in a pressured society. We live in a world where the pressures of life are very real, and it can cause us to lose our focus on important things, because under pressure, we tend to focus on urgent things, not always on important things. And so it's good to be reminded occasionally as people of God to have right priorities and really to keep the right focus on the right things. German writer Johann Wolfgang von Goethe grasped the importance of priorities when he said that the things which matter the most must never be at the mercy of the things which matter the least. On Monday, we addressed getting a great start, and that a great start is dependent upon having a solid and strong foundation. Well, today I'd like to suggest that if we're going to have a great finish, we have to maintain a right focus, which is why I believe that the writer of Hebrews from ancient scripture would say to us, looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith. We'll talk more about practical areas of priority in a later video. For today, I just want to reinforce and maybe adopt the old words from an old gospel song that just simply says, turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face. Why? And the things of this world will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. We start on the foundation of his word, and thereafter we keep our focus on him every step of the way by simply spending time in his word and spending time in His presence. Let me end the video today turning back to the straight line that we addressed in the farmer's story. Sometimes we think that in order to remain unchanged by the culture and the climate of the world around us, we have to keep a certain distance from the chaos we see in that world. And I certainly understand that. I don't disagree with it. However, what I'd like to make mention of is that we have to be careful not to allow the chaos to become our gauge. If we think of a line graph and God and the world are on those, is represented rather on that graph, God is a constant, unchanging line. The chaos of the world tends to get worse, and so it's always dropping further into the abyss, so to speak. And so if we use just the chaos as our gauge, we may think we're never getting closer to the world, but we are always getting further from God. We're not drawing near to Him. And so what I'd like to do is just challenge you today to make sure you keep your focus on the right things and not just the problems around us. In fact, let me just say it like this. Let's keep our focus not on the chaos around us, but upon the God that loves us. I hope you're blessed today, and I hope this video encouraged you. God bless you. Thanks for joining.